Hey guys, so this is my second big DFS win on DraftKings in less than a year. I also won an NFL contest first prize last fall for $100,000. So what I'm asking you to do is to please subscribe to my channel so that it's worth it for me to keep making videos. I want to get to 1,000 subscribers, and I will be giving more DFS information out on a regular basis to you. In particular, I've been focusing on golf and NFL, but also some MLB, NBA as well when that comes around. So please, again, subscribe to my channel, like and comment. I'll be getting a better camera and microphone. I just haven't gotten around to doing that yet. So this weekend in the $5 PGA, the bigger contest on DraftKings with 83,000 entries, $350,000 total pool, I finished first place, won $50,000. Here's the lineup that I had that I won with. Cantlay, who finished 4th, Fowler, who finished 13th, Keegan, who finished 1st, Minwoo Lee, who finished 9th, Denny McCarthy, who finished 7th, and Brian Harman, who finished 2nd. You can see none of these are super unowned players. I wouldn't say this is a chalk lineup, but fairly owned. Both these guys are under 10% though. As of Saturday night, I was in second place in this tourney and winning 20,000. And then Sunday came and Reeve fell off a bit. I think that helped me. When it actually came down to the last hole, I was ahead for about the last 3 holes. But on the last hole, Reeve birdied and Cantlay bogeyed, and I thought there was a possibility. There were a couple guys behind me, a little bit down. One of them had Scheffler and one of them had Reeve, and I thought that I was just going, well, I don't think they caught me, but they didn't, and they didn't catch me. So I took home 50,000, 718 points on the lineup. I want to go over some of the factors that I use to put together my teams. Because I've been doing golf heavily this year, primarily got more into it because of DraftKings ReignMakers, which is the collectible sports game, card game that they have on there as well now on DraftKings. So this here is like my DraftKings ReignMakers cards, core and rare, and I've won on that. I've won on that as well. I'm profitable on that, both in buying the cards that I bought as well as in tournaments. I'm profitable on that. So I manually put together a spreadsheet to rank golfers, and I'm not saying this is a magic formula. What has been successful for me, or what was successful for me this particular week, was doing a lot of lineups and making them all different, and keeping in mind the exposure that you have to each golfer. I'm not a person that just picks 1 or 2 of my favorite lineups and does everything on those. I did about 80 lineups this week, mostly in the $5 one, but also in the $3 one, the $3 20 entry cap, as well as in the 20 or 25 and the 12 single entry type things, to the $10 one. But I only have between $400 and $450 invested. Now this is the first big golf hit I've had this year. Again, I did win an NFL one last fall, so I got to think when I win 2 contests, it's not luck. 1 contest you could say is luck, and I've been doing DFS for quite a while. But I manually put together a spreadsheet on golf, and it does take some time to put together each week. But being organized and having a good idea of where I rank guys and how much I want to have of them is helpful. And I'm not a paid member of any information sites. I had free access to one site for a while, but that site's actually gone. And, I don't pay for Stochastic or Roto Grinders, although I think those 2 possibly could be worth paying for. They should give me a free membership, to be honest, but I didn't want to change my logo just for a 1-month membership. The exposure actually might be slightly different on what I actually had. But DraftKings now has a view exposure tool or view exposure bar on your upcoming lineups, which is very good to use. And again, I don't scrape this all manually. There's ways to scrape all of this manually. But the primary factors I look at are the win odds, the FedEx rating, which becomes more relevant as you get later into the season, the World Golf rating. And this is actually tweaks I made just this week to this sort of formula that I'm putting together. The finish in the same tournament over the last 3 years, if they played during COVID and if it's on the same course, my dog's freaking out. The last 5 tournaments finish just flat out from the source I use, top 20 finishes. All this is top 20 finishes, not 25, not 40, not making the cut. Then I also used some metrics from a free site as well. In this case, I looked at comp courses ranking, and they basically like a top 10 type thing, where they have like a basket that they list. Cut history for this tournament. Proximity is actually like a metric. I shouldn't have called it metric. I mean, I shouldn't have called it proximity. It's actually like a metrics plus comp course history. And comp course history includes this course plus other courses. Then a key metrics ranking. And this is all from one particular site. And then their model rankings from one site. Again, a free site that gives us free. I also looked at ownership percentage from the free RotoWire estimates, which don't look very accurate. But this is what I used in this particular model for this week. And I come up with an adjusted ranking, which you can see here. Goes down. I go through every golfer in the field. Now, this particular week, and part of this is for ReignMakers, but you can see I have the cards here. So when I make my DraftKings ReignMakers lineups, I just sort of go flat down. And although I try not to have the same captain multiple times. But here are the guys that I highlighted as the best bargains of the week. Cantlay, Fleetwood, Homa, Fitzpatrick, Fowler, Henley, Tom Kim, Siwoo Kim, Corey Connors, Harris English, McCarthy, Harmon, and Mark Hubbard. But you can see over here on my exposure, and again, the actual exposure came in a little different than this, but you can see I've taken a decent amount of all these golfers, basically all the golfers that were below 100 to 1 odds. Now, this is how it came in this particular week. But one thing I had noticed this season is that I was picking a lot of the cheapy golfers, and I did pick a lot of them at least once, the ones I liked. But the cheapy golfers really haven't been coming in for me this year. So I like to focus on the 7,000 and up. And the way I highlighted the ones I like, we're basically looking at, within their tier sort of who was underpriced. And I think I left off Clark Wyndham because he had won the previous week. And I thought he might be a little emotionally spent because he actually may have been worth putting as one. But I did have a decent exposure to all these. And so you can see that Henley was the best bargain, so to speak, by far, or not by far, but by fairly far. Tom Kim also, and so Henley these were among my highest exposures. And going down. Now Bradley. Now, so the blue lineup is the blue guys are the ones that were actually in this lineup that won it for me. So you can see that Cantlay was a good pick. It was one of my considered best values. Fowler, Denny, and Harmon. Now Keegan and Minwoo weren't, but Minwoo, first off, he doesn't have a FedEx rating, but I'd still own them a decent amount. So the least owned guys among the top, or the most owned guys, were Sheff, Cantlay, Fleetwood, Henley, Tom Kim, Harris English, Adam Scott. But I had decent exposure to all of these, and I just hit the right combination. So Cantlay the last 3 years had finished top 15 in this tournament. He also had 3 top 20 finishes in his last 5 tournaments. So in all those, the bonus categories here, or these categories here, I just give a 1 rating to, and you can kind of see the totals here. So all the top 6 golfers had 8 to 10 of these, but Cantlay and Sheff in particular had the highest of just all these additional categories apart from odds, lower golf ranking, and FedEx rating. And then going down, like Henley had a high one, but I sort of had this is just what I did at the time before the tournament, the coloring. So yellow was the middle range, but it's sort of a little bit arbitrary because I did 1 and 2 there. Corey Connors, Harris English, McCarthy, Lowry, Harmon. Harmon wasn't particularly high, but look at his last 2 years in this tournament. He finished 8th and 5th. Keegan finished 19th last year. He also showed up in this model that was from a free site. As among the 1 just means it was in their top 10. It doesn't mean he was 1 ranked, or he was listed in the top 10, 12, whatever it was of the model. He also was in the stats, sort of like the metrics plus comp. Metric, which was basically like certain metrics that were selected for this tournament, plus course comp of this course and other courses. Now, the sites that I tend to look at, and like I said, I put together 80 different lineups manually, basically. But now keeping in mind the exposure, having track of your exposure is an very important thing. Being organized. And there are definitely tools on Stochastic and RotoGrinder that will do this for you, and other sites. But some of the sites I use for specific lineups are RotoWire, Stochastic, RotoGrinders, TheLines.com, PGATour.com, and GolfDigest.com. And basically with some of these, what I'll just do is take an article where somebody has their picks and almost just make a lineup off that, and then throwing in a couple extra guys. So I wouldn't say there's a magic formula. However, you can see here, okay, so going down to where I had 10% or more, underweight Kitayama, he's been terrible for me, and I own a lot of his cards in ReignMakers. Underweight Cooch, underweight Justin Thomas, underweight Cam Young, underweight M, underweight Jason Day, underweight Wyndham a bit. And again, of the big names. Now, so if you look at the lineup that actually came in, here it is. I was slightly overweight on these overall, but not massively. Cantlay, I think I might have actually ended up a little higher. Well, no, Cantlay, I have a 21%. This is what I calculated after the tournament. Cantlay had 21. He was 24 in the tournament. Fowler, I was overweight by 6. McCarthy by 2. Harmon in line. Bradley by 1. Minwoo by 4. That lineup added up to 49,800, 200 under. It's a good idea to have a certain number of lineups that are 1 to 500 under, or possibly more. I don't have too many that are more, although those can come in as well. And again, what's tended to work this year is not having too many guys below 7,000, or even, depending. It just hasn't worked for me this year, and this is what did work this week. And again, I said, I think I calculated about 70 lineups, approximately 420. I think it might have been somewhere around that, but somewhere around $5 a lineup. Again, I did the 20 entries into the $3 lineup. I did probably 30 to 40, I think, in this. I have to go back and check into the $5 one. I did a few into the $20 one. The big one, I did a $12 single entry. I think a couple of those. I did a $10 one, $5 single entry, and then I also do the daily ones. Last week I hit a daily one for $400, the Sunday close one, which actually left me profitable for the week. So if you had asked me, if I'd given my picks, I think it would, based on exposure, I think I would have, sent out something like this last week. Cantlay, Fleetwood, Henley, Kim, English, and Hubbard. 2 of those guys missed the cut, so that lineup would not have cashed. 50,000 salary. This is just sort of an eyeball or looking at my exposure, what I would have possibly sent out. The other one would have been like Scheffler, Scott, Thigala, McCarthy, Connors, and either Putnam or Eckroat. And those would have cashed and would have, with 3 top 10s and a top 20, and this one top 24 all making the cut. So if I had given you two lineups on my YouTube last week, and you had played them both, you would have at least broken even on those, because this one may have cashed quite a bit higher. I'd have to double check, depending on who you add in there. So that's sort of the gist of it. I'm trying to think if there's something else I wanted to focus on here. Again, so when I get my ratings going down, I highlighted the ones that I thought were the best DraftKings salary bargains. And then when you get down here with the filling in spots, let's say, and then looking at combos, not having too many of the same combos. So not too many Cantlay and Fowler, or not too many Xander and Fitzpatrick's. Trying to make a wide variety of differences. So when you go down here, though, because of the number of lineups I'm doing, I do include a lot of lesser golfers at least once or twice, because I don't want to miss out. And, Bo Hostler could come in, Patrick Rogers could come in, Jaeger could come in, and On could come in. So looking at that, I went to about the top 60 golfers, definitely, which is like around 200 to 1, less, about 175 to 1 in this case, to win it. And then I even go down beyond that. But I sort of did, I would say, a little less of that this week. But I went down all the way. The lowest golfer I had, and I don't have their finish here, but Lucas Glover. Now, Abberg and Bennett were amateurs don't have much data, but I know they're good. So I had a little bit more exposure. This doesn't mean 5 entries, but 5%. So probably like 3 or 4 times. Novak, Bjornsson, Norman, Dylan Wu, Kevin Yu, Webb, Luke List. He had a high finish. I have to double check where all the other. I was so preoccupied in my lineup. Gim, Michael Kim, Stallings. Stallings, I mean, he hasn't been good, but I mean, he had 2 top 10. So sometimes when it would come down here, I would look at the just the bonus factor, or the number of times they appeared here in these particular categories, and say, well, there's extra factors that might cause me to like these guys more. So the ones that had 2, now I didn't pick Lipsky once, but some of these guys I'm familiar with their form sort of from following the golf closely this season, also with the ReignMakers. So if you go up, let's see, Hardy 5%. So going up the first one where I had 10%, exposure was Cole, and he had a very high finish. Where did he finish? Let me see here. I think Cole had a top 10, right? No, 24th, tied 24th. But he had a nice tournament. Seamus Power, I don't think did great. Woodland, Rye, Putnam, Eckroat, Hubbard, which was a very popular pick this week because of his salary. He was a big salary bargain. It's really all about the salary on sites like DraftKings, FanDuel, etc. So, and then you go up, and then from there on up, I basically had 10% plus, but I'm definitely underweight and overweight guys. And so that's what worked for me this week. There's not a magic formula, but what I will be doing, assuming I get some views and more subscribers, is I will post you my favorite picks, a variety of my favorite golf picks each week, and perhaps baseball, although I haven't been doing baseball quite as much. And when NFL comes around, I'll be posting that as well. So you can, these are some of the tips I use. This is some of the lineup building factors I used for this week that won me the big one. And again, it was I wouldn't say this is a chalk lineup, but if you look at what's been winning this year, there haven't been many 1 and 2 percenters. There's been a few, but sort of getting that right combo. And if you look at, these guys, there isn't one pattern in particular. Cantlay had very good finishes in this tournament, and so he has a very high total, the highest total along with Scheffler, bonus total. So the top 4, I had a sort of a top 4 golfers tier, and he was the lowest salary in there. So that makes him a value. Fowler didn't have a good course history here, or didn't have a history. I didn't put finishes below 20 or missed cuts. I'm just looking at, in this case, what I was tracking was outliers. But he did have four very good finishes in 4 of his last 5 tournaments. So he had a 4, which is a good but not stellar. McCarthy had 3, so he had 3 good finishes recently. Harmon had 2, and his 2 were tournament performance. So here it's a combination of recent form plus tourney performance that did it for me, I believe. But Keegan had 1 good finish in this tournament, but also had 2 metrics or sort of metric type things. So that was a different combo. And then Min Woo had 2 good finishes recently. And in particular, last week he looked really good. And he's young. I don't think he had played this tournament. I have to double check. But that's the kind of thing where, so if I had gotten, with this lineup, 49,800. So it's possible I built this one. I probably built this one from top down. Cantley, Fowler, McCarthy, Harmon. And when you pick one of these expensive guys, you're going to have to get some, quite a few guys in the 7,000s or 8,000s. And I do like to also have lineups where it's 9,000, 8,000 guys, more middle range, more expected cash range. And obviously the key with golf is getting all 6 guys to make the cut. But if you play it, there's weeks where the guy that you're certain will make the cut doesn't make the cut. So that's why I don't have all my eggs in one basket, and I like to diversify. But if I'd gone down and put this in like this, I would have had 7,800 left. Okay, and when I got down to that, I would have been looking here. And so Keegan, so then with 7,800 left, I would have probably picked, now I had so much Harris English, so I may not have had Harris English in this one, or Corey Connors. And then I just may have said, well, Min Woo's my next one down. And I like his exposure. I know he's an extremely talented golfer, and that puts me fairly close to the total. So that's sort of some of the things I use, and I would advise you to check out, these sites. I'm not going to, there's particular articles on them and things like that, which I do try to put one lineup from the picks. And I don't track, though, what the makeup of each lineup was. So in this case, I can't tell you what specifically did this, but like I said, I was definitely overweight Cantley and Ricky. And then, these older guys like Brian Harmon and Keegan Bradley are a little bit older, tend to be under-owned in general. So the reason I had the Golf Digest is I believe they had really nailed this one article out there had really nailed the U.S. Open the week before. And one thing I have found has not been useful for me is the sort of YouTube last-minute free videos on there that are like 2 or 3 hours, particularly the stochastic ones. And I think stochastic has great information, and I enjoy those, but I've found when I use those for picks, they did not do well for me. And again, I don't have the premium access to Roto Grinders or Stochastic I would like to, particularly just for ownership percentages and a couple other things. But I would advise you to look at things like this. And again, what worked for me was diversification of lineups, putting in quite a few lineups and varying them up. All right, so again, subscribe to my channel, like, and comment on my videos, and I'll be posting more. I also post about Sorare collectible card DFS game that has football, soccer, baseball, and NBA basketball. I've won on that. I've also won on DraftKings ReignMakers, which has NFL, PGA Golf, and UFC. And this is my second big hit in DraftKings DFS in less than a year. I won $100,000 on an NFL one, won $50,000 on a golf one. So I do have I have quite a bit of experience, but I do have success in these. So I'll give you some of my thoughts each week on this. No guarantees on anything, of course, but it may give you some ideas. And hopefully you found this interesting and or entertaining. I tend to be a little more professorial when I do these. Maybe I need to let my personality out more. On some of my chess videos that I've done, I've been a little more amusing. I come from a stock market trading background, options trading, so I'm used to sort of inherent risk analysis and sort of value finding type things. Haven't really had an office job since 2008. Made quite a bit of money in Chicago in the first internet bubble way back in the day. One of the first internet bubbles. Also traded in London, England, and things like that. So I have quite a bit of experience, and I feel like I have some knowledge to pass on to you. So again, subscribe to my channel, like videos and comment on them, and I'll share some more information for you on YouTube, and hopefully be getting might as well order a good camera and a microphone soon for this if I plan on keep on doing them. Thanks. Have a good one. Good luck. And I also have one other thing I want to share, but I may do that for another video, which will be crazy, but it's something that's brought me good fortune in DFS over the past year.